Hello and good afternoon, TVI viewers. Welcome to Crossroads with Neethan Shan. As you know, Crossroads is a weekly talk show dedicated to discussing a variety of topics that are relevant to the social, economic, political, and cultural advancement of Tamil Canadians. Young Tamil Canadians are trying new paths and setting new trends in various fields. On today's episode of Crossroads, we will meet two such young Canadians who have impressive talent. They are also sharing those talents with all of us. In the first segment, we have Jananie Baskaran joining us in the studio. Welcome, Jananie, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Was there a moment where you actually had like a tipping point or like a highlight where it turned into something that you wanted to drive more into? Like in those years when you were trying this out, right? Was there a particular photo shoot or a particular photo that made the impact that you changed into taking it more seriously?
I would say a couple of moments, but I think it would be my first fashion shoot that I did for Om magazine. When I did that, I got so interested in it. I knew I had a lot to learn, but at the same time, just the sense of fashion and just being in that surrounding with like fashion designers, stylists, and all of that really inspired me to say, hey, you know what, this is really interesting. I want to pursue this more. So I think I would say that is what helped me. But then it would also be taking pictures of my friends and all of that. So yeah, it's a mix of everything.
So where do you learn? Like, where do you
YouTube and Google. Yeah, it's a lot of reading and researching that I do. It's not like I went for a course or anything like that. It's everything self-read and everything that I learn off online.
Let's talk about challenges, because I know life is not easy for anybody, let alone somebody who's trying to venture into a field that is not often encouraged or not often supported or understood even. Let's go with support, right?
Okay.
Has there been challenges in the environment that you growing up or like living around understanding this as a career, as something that needs to be supported or focused on, or a potential full-time gig?
Yeah, definitely a lot of challenges. I think, like you said, it's very hard for people in the Tamil community to accept that photography is a job that someone can do and make enough money to have a living. And it's also seen as, oh yeah, you just come and take pictures of an event, that's it. But not everyone realizes how much hard work goes into taking the picture, editing it, putting it together, all of that. It's a package. So not a lot of people realize that. But I think from a personal point of view, I think it was the struggle of saying, so I went to school for health sciences, but so it's like, am I going to pursue that, or am I going to take over arts, which I won't be making as much money, which is basically the whole point, how much money you're making at the end of the day, right? So I think it was a challenge for me to say, no, this is what I want to do as a side, as a part-time job at least, and getting like my parents, relatives, just people in the community to say, okay, so she knows what she's doing. It's not like she's just going out there to take pictures whenever she feels like it. Like you said, just because everyone is used to seeing a male photographer, when they see a female, they start doubting us. They start thinking, can she do the job as well as good as a male photographer? But at the same time, when I do fashion shoots, it's always a benefit because the models feel comfortable around us. Like they can do anything in front of us, ask us if they look okay, and usually that's not something that they can ask a male photographer, or they're shy to ask them. So I think it's worked out as a benefit for me at the end of the day.
The other concern usually, again, I'm just trying to draw parallels between the other arts, performing arts as well. There's often tendency to ask for things for free.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
so is that something that comes up too? Can you cover this, and we'll put your logo or something like that?
Yeah, that happens all the time. It's something that I've known where to put my foot down and say no, like I do not need that kind of promotion. And at the same time, depending on how well that would benefit me, I still do some free gigs, like I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, I do know where that, I don't know, I think I know to differentiate which ones will actually help me out and who's taking advantage of me. So yeah.
Because it'll become a culture that you kind of promote.
Yeah.
And then, if it's not you, the moment you start charging, then some other younger, newer artists would be exploited, right?
Exactly.
So it is one of those things. So let's talk a bit now into the cause that you're supporting or championing, because artists can be good in what they do, but some artists then take up that talent and use it towards a good cause, right? So you've done photo exhibits. Before we even talk about the cause itself, let's talk a bit about the travel.
Sure.
Right? How is that connected? Is there a natural liking towards traveling to places, or is it just for the art of photography that you are choosing to travel?
No, it's actually a coincidence. I do love traveling, but I haven't got to travel to as many countries as I would like to. But the past 3 events that I've had, all the traveling has happened. It's pure coincidence where I've decided to go there with my family, and I just take advantage of the situation that I'm in and just take as many pictures as I can.
So you just need more family trips.
Yep. I'll make sure it
Can you
continues.
tell us a bit about the places that you've been to, and some of the places, when you look at the landscape, you go, wow, this is something that, it's magical, right?
Yeah.
It's, before you capture something magical,
Yeah.
I think you also kind of feel a location as magical, right?
Yeah.
So can you take us through some of the locations that might have given you that feel?
Well, I think one place that definitely makes me feel like that is Sri Lanka. And I've gone there almost, since I was little, almost every year I've been going there. But in 2013 was my first time going to Jaffna. And I think after going there, just seeing, because everything else we've heard about Jaffna for me is based on TV or newspapers or just listening to what people say. So when I went and saw it for the first time, it was very life-changing. I know it's very cliched to say that because a lot of people say that, but it was life-changing because it's just so beautiful and it's very simple. And we're so used to seeing everything so fast and like the high-rise buildings and like downtown is always so packed and all of that. And we've always thought that that's what beauty is. But then when you go back home, it's like a completely different side of beauty. So I think that's what fascinated me. But I've also gone to so last year I was in the Middle East, so when I went to Dubai, I think that was a completely different side where it's all luxury, completely contrasting Sri Lanka and Jaffna. So yeah, I think I've seen both sides of it.
Okay. So let's talk about the cost.
Yeah.
Like, why did you decide that you want to do the palm roots exhibit? You've done it 3 years, I think,
3
right?
years, yeah.
And you've contributed proceeds to support initiatives in northern east of Sri Lanka or Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
So can you take us through the thought process as to why you decided to do that and how that's been going so far?
Yeah, well, like I said, so 2013 was the first time I went to Jaffna. And after I went there, something struck me where I started thinking, okay, I'm doing all this as a photographer. I shoot fashion, I shoot all of those really nice things, but what am I doing as a Tamil female photographer? I say that so proudly all the time, but what am I doing to make sure that people know that I am proud of being Tamil and being a Tamil female photographer? So that's when I started thinking of how can I use something that I enjoy to give back to my community instead of just having, well, no offense to the event organizers, but just instead of just doing an event and saying, okay, this much money goes back home, how can I use my skill, that's something that I'm good at and something that I enjoy doing, to contribute back to our community? And that's how I started doing the auction.
Now, photo exhibits,
Yeah.
Art exhibit itself is pretty rare
Yeah.
in the community. But photo exhibit is even further
Yeah.
rare. I haven't been to one in the recent times, and I can't remember going to one
Yeah.
even in Canada. So how is the community reacting, or has the response been? Because it's a newer concept,
Yeah.
and even to not just to go, but to auction and get
Yeah.
buy something.
Yeah.
Right? So how is it? Is it a growing process every year? Do you see a bit more appetite for something like this? Or
Yeah, I definitely do. Like you mentioned, just getting people to auction and buy things. There's a lot of explanation that goes into, do I really need this in my house? Do I really need to spend this much money? But then when the factor comes in that the money is not going to me, it is going for people that actually need it, people that can afford certain things that we're blessed to have. People have been very generous, but I wouldn't say it was an easy path either. Yeah. So in 2013, when I did the first one, it was just my close family and friends that came to my event, regardless of me promoting it on social media and all of that, because people weren't sure what I was trying to do. They said, oh, she's just a girl that's trying to do an auction, so we'll see how it goes. But then once that went well, the next year people were like, maybe she is trying to make a change, maybe we should give it a shot, and a little bit more people came out. And then this year, I would say it was my best year because all throughout social media and all of that, I've been promoting it, showing what I've been doing for the last few years and showing how the money has helped the communities back home. So I got a lot more support this year.
Mm-hmm. So this year, what is the cause supporting? I know you've raised a good amount of money to support a cause, right? So
So the cause this year that I focused on was scholarships provided for children in north and east of Sri Lanka. And the auction just finished 2 weeks ago, and I raised $12,000 with the help of course, our community that came out. It was a huge success just because I was overwhelmed with all the support that I got from our community. And yeah, so the cause it's actually through Ideal Hope Foundation. And they have different projects in north and east of Sri Lanka, and this is one of their projects. And I've always loved contributing to education for children in Jaffna. So I took up that project and I said, this is what I want to focus on. So all the funds from my auction is going to that project.
Before I ask you what's your future plan, a quick question around branding.
Yeah.
I know you have a business called 3D
Media. Yeah.
But you also have a brand as Jananie Baskaran. The name is also being branded, right? One of the things that we are finding that some of our artists and some of our prominent folks are not so good at or learning is to market themselves, right? There's a humbleness that we are taught to keep. We're often told in our families, don't boast about yourself. So how important is branding and self-promotion and marketing yourself and marketing a brand as an individual?
I think that's the most important thing. When people notice, even when I started photography, when they started noticing, okay, a girl's at a lot of events, I thought, instead of using that as a disadvantage, I want to make sure people know who I am and what I do. So that's when the branding came in the picture, and just making sure people know that this name is associated to these kind of events. So branding is definitely important. And like you said, our community is not about branding at all, just because we don't like to talk about ourselves a lot. But I've heard you should know that, I think I've learned over the years that you should know the difference between being overly confident and just being confident in who you are and being able to tell people, no, this is what I do and this is what I will continue doing. And that's where branding comes in, where you put your name out there, but at the same time you don't say these are all the things I do and brag about it. You say this is what I do and I need your support. So there's two different ways to look at it.
Not to overdo it.
Yeah.
There are some of us who might overdo it.
Yeah, there are people that overdo it.
All right, so the last question to you before we wrap up is, like, where do you see yourself? Is it something that you can consider? I know you're not doing this full time at this point of time, right? Are you working towards, because obviously full-time dedication to a field would make things better, but at the same time financial and social construction of the positions and the art itself is not there in many of our communities, right? So how do you see yourself progressing in the future with this one?
Well, I would definitely love to do photography as my full-time job, but then again, I do have to consider other factors as well. But charity and social causes is something I'll always be passionate about, and I want to continue doing it.
Thank you very much, Jananie Baskaran, for joining us in the studio. Viewers, we heard from Jananie Baskaran, who's done amazing work through her photo exhibit, raising money for a cause, but also following her dreams and passion in the art of photography. So we are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to meet a very young novelist, a young writer who is making an impression in the field of literature in our community. Stay tuned.